for our new monthly flower arranging class. And a special thank you to those of you who pointed out that the demonstration didn't seem to finish. And in actual fact, my internet connection, the message came up saying internet connection unstable, and I didn't realise it had stopped filming me. So you missed the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes of the video where I mocked up how you could add flowers to your paper flower frog, and also talked a little bit about what you would need for next month's YouTube Flower Club. But I have already set up the link for next month. If you click on that, it will tell you underneath what to bring with you. And I believe I've also put something on the community tab pages, so you should be a-okay for next time. Basically, you need some heavy gauge floristry wires, some mossing wire, and some buttonhole tape and some flowers. Now, I'm decluttering. I have got these albums which are a recording of the early years of my floristry career, and I thought before I just chuck them in the bin that you might want to have a look, and perhaps it might inspire you to suggest some ideas of what you'd like to learn or talk about at Flower Club, or even in the WhatsApp group. Now I bought these little hardback photo albums, and I've just dropped this one. The cup has fallen off. I quite like these little albums, and when I was trying to do my floristry exams, I think I started in 2002, and then did a 2-year course to 2004, and then 2004 to 2006. I think, I can't quite remember, but I was so into my flower arranging that I was trying to get ideas from everywhere, and I even made this little lookbook, which when I look at it, I've colour coordinated. So there's the reds, and then we move on to the whites, and the yellows, and the pinks. This really dates it, doesn't it? Ting Ting, the very turn of the century. Purples and blues, more reds, dories, always love a dory, yellows again. So I just put so much work into clipping out. I guess this is the precursor to Pinterest and, scrapbooks when you were little. It's sort of a halfway house really. And I thought I've put so much effort into making this little book up that I didn't quite know what to do with it. I'm tempted just to put it in the charity bag, and someone might want to look through it. I don't quite know. Or is it just time to chuck it away? I'll have to wait and see. But gorgeous, gorgeous photographs. But do you want to see some? Now, some of these books, I helpfully put the date on the back, 2005, 2005-6, undated, but the book cost me £3.55. So I don't know which one comes first. Oh, that book's £4 something, gone up in price. I think that one is afterwards. I just want to show you the earlier ones first, so we get all the rubbish out of the way. So I think, I don't know what order it's going to be, but I found one here. So 2004, Shall We Share All? Oh gosh, that book cost me £4.25, which is more expensive than the other one. 2004. So this will be at the point where I have finished my first floristry course. I was trying to think about this the other day. It was a BTEC National Award, which I think is the equivalent of 3 A levels. And then I went on to do a City and Guilds Advanced National Certificate. And this here, funeral tribute. These are all things that I did in college. You can tell because we try to set up backgrounds. So it's a massed heart design with carnations. A row here of the little flower heads, or it's the common conifer, the Leylandii. I've picked off all the leaves, so it gets left with these little nuts. And these are white roses. On the other side, it's moss with some trailing ivy. So I think, yeah, where everything is staged, that's something I've done at college. This is a little bag here. That was my handbag. presumably held my flower arranging kit. A top table arrangement, a little bit sparse. If you were doing that now, you'd really make it heavy with flower. Oh, I did something for a local restaurant, Latino night at the Ardennes. Oh, willow weaving. I love that picture. It looks a little bit, doesn't it? If you follow along with, is it Georgie Newbury? Her husband makes these willow bases that she then decorates. But these have been made from things left over in my garden. I think it's wisteria vine, I think, and perhaps Virginia creeper as well. That is a nice picture. If I'm going to get rid of this, I might just pull that picture out. Oh, I can't. I might just rip that picture out. Hold on to it for another day. I've obviously here done a competition entry, the Swale Festival. This would have been the Flower Club, and it's called Things of the Air. So it's one of those metal stands. Did you get these from your Flower Club? Take a funeral tray and a piece of oasis on the top. I'm just trying to have a look to see whether I actually had oasis in there. I'm not entirely sure, and it's placed on a mirror. I was going all avant-garde at that stage. Ruby wedding anniversary, so bouquets and bunches there. Oh, Brogdale. So Brogdale is just outside Faversham. It holds the National Fruit Collection or Apple Collection, not quite sure. And I had been asked, I think via my Flower Club, to do an arrangement that I took to the Plum Festival. And this is on my front porch, so in a big outdoor terracotta bowl. More bouquets, you know, we used to do all the fancy bubble wrap and the tissue paper around it. Flowers from Lisa, or for Lisa. God, I can't remember even who Lisa is. I don't think it's my Lisa that I know at the moment. Oh, I had a friend that worked in the banking industry, and from time to time she used to drive me up to London, and I used to do the flowers in their foyer. So she worked at the British Banking Association, which I think was, she worked in events hosting, so I think it was like a conference centre rather than actually a bank. So this was something done after her request was, oops, I think I've just had a bit of a internet cut out there, and that was also from the front desk for Maggie. I don't have a clue who Maggie is. Harvest Festival at St Catherine's Church. So this would have been something that I would have done, you know, via connections at the Flower Club. And I cannot even remember doing that. Not for the life of me. Oh, I used to love, I bought these little baskets, little raffia baskets when we went on a field trip through with college to Holland. Went to the wholesalers and Beauty Spot where I've done these. That's where I still go, and I used to do some flowers for the owner of Beauty Spot at Christmas time, and then I think she actually took herself off to a floristry class and she did them herself. So I don't know whether these were just promotional things or whether she'd asked me to make them. I remember when coloured flower foam was in. I quite like that. I do like a door wreath. Oh, it's for my sister. So that's an artificial door wreath, and then a twiggy cross. So this would have been in the more, I can't get that to focus. Does it focus in my hand, or you can see me? This would be something I would have done at college. Modern funeral tributes. Oh, look at that. Don't you just love the precision on that? It looks like it's come from the copy of Fusion Flowers magazine. So it's on a funeral base and it's woven grasses. So this is China grass. And would that be Typha grass? And I've pinned the join with black-headed pins, fastened off here with white-headed pins. That took quite a labour of love. And then bride's bouquet. So it's on a padded, what do you call it? It's on a circle. And I think we've probably done something similar to this at Zoom Flower Club, where you've got a cardboard cut out, you bind it over with toilet paper, and then you cover it with ribbon. Oh, and sometimes you used to do demonstrations as well. Milstead Horticultural Society. This is a Christmas demonstration I did. More at Linstead. Catherine. I can't even remember who Catherine is now. Oh, I love these kind of arrangements where you take an oasis round, cut it in half, and then you put it back together. It makes this S shape, and it's got equisetum pinned on it, and then a mix of green carnations, white roses, there's limes there, dried limes, cinnamon. So it's like a modern Christmas thing. Christmas gifts. Oh, that's for a friend. I must have been catching up with university friends, because that's another university friends wreath there as well. Very wintry looking wreath there. This is our old front door. It wasn't very picturesque. So there we have, oh yes, a wreath made out of corks. It took a lot of drinking of a lot of bottles of wine for that. Simple table decorations there. Going through little decorative bridal crown. So all rather lovely. It's a nice walk down memory lane, but it's incredible how much you actually forget. So these are, oh, this is the British Bankers Association again. Those artificial flowers. So they are water. Are they the flower, artificial flower of the what becomes the lotus seed pod? And then we went into orchids that time. A little bit of sisal, and look. That's a classic as well, isn't it? I'm going to save that. So that was for a local restaurant as well. Doesn't that just look gorgeous? So this, I will say, was an absolutely huge goldfish bowl. It must have been 45 centimetres across. But doesn't that look magazine perfect? Littlebourne Village Hall. What was I doing there? Was I doing a demonstration? I don't really know. And that's a classic college piece there. An open funeral tribute, or sometimes called a loose funeral tribute, because it's not massed. You haven't got all the heads of chrysanthemums. It's open, loose. Waterfall arrangement. This would be something from college with lots of aspidistra fern. A wired orchid bouquet. Of course, I couldn't afford orchids, so I bought some silk flowers, and then they sort of reinvented them to various things. I quite like that as well. So when our dining room walls used to be rugged in orange. I might rip that out as well, just for old time's sake. But this is something I read about, and it must have been the Flower Ranger magazine, and it's the begonia leaves. You know, the big elephant's ears that have the pink spindly flower, looks a bit like a hyacinth. But I took the leaves from underneath, the brown leaves that had gone off, and then while they were, I think I must have washed them or lightly wiped them over to get rid of the debris, and then put them over polystyrene balls, or they might even have been Oasis balls, and then the frame as well, and it dried in situ. And then I had this container here. It looked like it was made out of wood. I don't know if it was resin, but you know, again, it's of its time, isn't it? And all those vibrant colours, a textured wreath. I do like a textured wreath as well as a table arrangement or a funeral tribute. See, there's those artificial orchids as a wrist corsage. Oh, and I absolutely love anything with, manipulating. It looks like it's paper-covered wire with an overlay of bullion wire with some tiny little beads in. I absolutely loved doing all the jewellery stuff. And look at this. An absolutely massive pedestal arrangement. Is that still relevant to today? I don't think I like it enough to rip. Oh, go on. I think I do like it enough to rip it out. The textured wreath again, the candle in the middle with all the greens and yellows. Bridal ribbon. Oh, I can remember making this. Again, we had a bridal fashion show at college, and I think I was allocated a certain bride, and this was knitted underneath. It was knitted real wire, and then I threaded in the asparagus fern and the white flowers. I'm not quite sure what the white flowers are. Are they, perhaps they're an orchid? I don't know. But somebody who had a florist in the neighbouring town came to this show and offered me, did she offer me a job, or she wanted me to do a wedding or something like that? But I don't think I ever did it. A bridal bouquet based on a mossed ball So it was the mechanics were chunky enough that you could incorporate apples in it. Oh, I've entered a competition, first prize, tea at 3, and I've got 3 levels. These are the plastic Oasis containers, the tank vases, straight up and down, and I have stood them upside down, and in each layer I've got, well, the cup, the saucer and the plate, and made an arrangement, and then did this sort of top detail. I think that looks pretty good. Another first prize. Oh, what a picture. And I've decorated a photo frame. This was another competition called Engagement Party. These are all at the local function rooms. The background's always really blurry and a bit dark. Ah ha ha. Oh, look. First prize and best in show. Competition title was advertisement, and I got my baked bean cans with my baked beans, orange gerbils sprouting out, and then a Malmaison rose. What is the name? There's another name for these. It's a rose in the middle, and then I have either glued or wired a composite rose, extra petals from other roses around the edge to make a really, eye-catching flower. Perhaps that might be something for Zoom Flower Club. A rose bomb. I don't know what I was doing here. So it's a block of coloured flower foam wrapped in cellophane. Of course, because it's coloured, you automatically see it through because it's part of the design. And then there's a rose in the top, and then tied off with raffia, another funeral tribute in white. This is the sort of the connections of all the, nothing's randomly placed. It's all connected, these little trails that are running through to create that sense of movement. And then the good old bear grass bouquet, which I'm certain is something we've made at previous Zoom Flower Clubs. But again, that's a pretty good picture. Ripped that out. I've tried it again using Love in the Mist, Nigella. But I found that the cottage garden flower with a very modern bouquet armature, it was like a conflicting story. I do think your flowers need to talk to each other and the styles. A Rococo urn. I think this was to show here, gosh, what awful coloured dyed chrysanthemums and fresh lime. And then I've twiddled some raffia through. Corporate function at Hadlow College. This would have been something I worked on with my teammates. Oh, I'm going to take this photograph out because I entered my first county show. I entered in 2005. I entered the novice class. And the title was just Crescendo, and I made this, and it won. I had my picture in the paper, so it was an absolutely massive Oasis base at the bottom, and Crescendo. I just had it low at the front, and then sort of twisting off into the higher areas. So a lot of it's got Lisianthus, Eryngium thistle. The base is all sorts of decorative conifers, and then a sort of silver birch sort of entwined around. So I might keep that for the moment. So I'm whittling down. I'm three books in, and I've just whittled it down to a few pages that I perhaps might like to keep. And then I got involved in a local flower festival. Again, that would have been through the Flower Club. See, sometimes things just don't, in hindsight, don't photograph very well. I do think if you're going to do your flowers, it's to be bold and impactful. And I just think there's too much busyness. Although having said that, it was supposed to be a sort of meadows style look. A bridesmaid's bouquet. I think that must have been something at college. And do you remember when the fashion was, obviously in 2004, to put pins in the middle of your roses? Oh, these are artificial flowers as well. That's for my banking association friend. The Sue. This is a funeral tribute. And it's got tiny little flower pots in it. And I can't really remember who Sue was. That's quite nice as well. Funeral flowers. So you could keep them. They don't look overly funereal, but I like that because it means that you don't have to leave them at the cemetery. You can take them home and enjoy them. And then the beginning of my floral jewellery phase. I don't know why I've put this picture in here. Ranunculus and stalks. But look, those stalks are dead. They've gone all brown and yucky. Not a good look, Julie. Janie. Gosh, I can't even remember anyone called Janie. So a limited arrangement, we've got a limited hand-tied bouquet with, I'm wondering if these are silk flowers as well, delphinium, the ranunculus, rose hips and beech leaves, and then tied with bear grass, and that all sits inside that vase. So, let me know whether anything is grabbing your eye. So now moved on to 2005 to 6. This was another college piece. I think this was a straw wreath that was bound over. And then is this typha grass or perhaps shredded Formian tenax? And I think these real cranberries pinned in. So sort of a modern European take on things. This is obviously the times from when I was actually taking photographs with a real life camera, and then you get them back. And if you didn't like the picture, obviously I like this picture enough to put it in my album, but I think it's slightly out of focus. So you always had to wait, didn't you, to see what was going to happen. Oh, I think we've done this in Zoom Flower class. You remember we took a ball of oasis and cut it in half, so it's half a sphere, and then created this base. Yes, Joan, I am currently live. I'm just going through my old albums from when I was at college, at Hadlow College, training to be a florist. And I thought, I'm going to get rid of these because I created all these albums and I've never really gone back to them to reference them. But I'm just seeing some new ideas, well, my ideas that are like old friends. So we made this in Zoom for well, this is something I made in college. But do you remember we made like a base of 4 pieces of stick or cinnamon, which then enabled the roundness of the half ball of oasis to sit up straight. So that was like an advent countdown. I don't know what that was for. Obviously going a bit modern there, a bit of a classic. Is that oh, I think this was a floristry piece. I think it was. Joan, it's taken me ages to. It's a bit like when I started using Zoom, was trying to work out which buttons to press to do everything. And I have set up the link for the May class, and it must have taken me about 15 goes because it kept saying, finish, come back to this later. And it's just confusing. So I think the more I get on and practice, the slicker it'll be. But yes, something from college. And this must have been something like a gift design. So an asymmetrical design incorporating a gift. And I've got some products in there, as if you were doing that for a shop. I mean, why have I put this picture in here? This looks like it's waxed flower, which is still in bud. There's a tiny one there opened, and then is that rosemary, and then the flower is being created out of wire. Oh, good, you've got your notifications on. That's good. And then corsages. So this was using the artificial orchid that I bought for doing my college work. This was definitely a college piece. We made a bouquet on a really long cone base, and I can remember going to see a bride and I took it with me. I was so pleased with it. And of course, all she wanted was a traditional rose bouquet. She wasn't going to be avant-garde. And then I spent ages as well making corsages. This one, I think it's got a wire outline and then it's raffia. And I got some of that glue that's in a spray, and I would sort of spray the raffia and mush it all up and pat it down. And that would create the base. And then a sort of combination of stitching and, artificial flowers here and beads to make these fancy corsages. And that's a classic, isn't it? I think I might rip that one out as well. That is an absolute classic. The Pomandable. Did anybody in real life ever make one of those for a wedding? No one has ever asked me to do that. The only way, I've taught the technique many times, but I've tried to sort of teach the technique to say, and you could hang this in a tree to decorate a venue. So, it's probably a classic design. Got that a little floral crown there using, I think, is it white Michaelmas daisy as the flower. And there's another, that's quite a nice pedestal arrangement. I think I might prefer it to the other one I've got. I'm just rifling if you look through my papers here. Gosh. It just looks lighter, doesn't it? More elegant. I'm going to ditch that one and keep that one. Sort of as if it's come from the pages of the Flower Arranger magazine. And this was definitely something from college. A very lightweight bear grass, not so much as a bouquet. I think it was to hang from the wrist. I think this might have been in a book by, was it Liz and Claire Dowling? I think it was mother and daughter based in Ipswich. And they did some very modern takes on funeral flowers and wedding flowers. And I think that was something from the pages of that book. And look at that. So I think this must have been perhaps doing period design at college, sort of Rococo design. So it's in a little urn, it would have been flower foam base underneath. It's sort of with the illusion of the pineapple, which is the symbol for hospitality, I think. And I do believe that those are Ferrero Rocher in there and shells at the bottom. And there's some cut lime. It's quite nice, but I'm not sure whether it's, I think I might keep that actually. I can always chuck them away. And then more floral jewellery. So our tutor at college, we had Wendy Andrade, and she's the one that's written books about floral jewellery. But she wasn't a permanent tutor, but I think she had been a permanent tutor, but the time I was there, she just came in for occasional classes. And that would have been all inspired by Wendy. I think I might quite like that cuff. Oh, Leeds Castle. So Leeds Castle is a stately home. Who did it have connections with? I don't know. Perhaps Henry VIII might have stayed there. But it's supposed to be the prettiest castle in England. So it's got the grounds. The castle is set inside a moated area. And the flower clubs used to get involved with a flower festival there every year. Nowadays, they have a proper floral designer who oversees everything. And it's very much more professional. But in the early days of their flower festival, the clubs would do it and you would be given a room to decorate. And I think twice I did this, once just before my daughter was born and once when I took her with me in a carry cot. So those were the rooms that we got given. And look, all those pomander oranges that we did there. So this was the king's bedroom, perhaps. Don't quite know. I think this is using that funeral design technique, a pave design, perhaps you'd call it. I'm wondering whether the colours were picking up on some of the tapestries in the background. I don't know. Oh yes. So did these. So you can see the sort of rich colours of the bed and the wall coverings. I'm not going to keep those though, I don't think. Little something, a sort of a modern design there, but using, very common spray carnations. I think that may have been a segment cut out from the Oasis wreath because it's got, it looks slightly bridge shaped and then pinned with leaves and then just the top surface decorated. Quite like that. Oops. Oh, there's always, this was another flower festival. India, I think, was the theme there. So we'd made these at college. We went to Hindu temple and learnt about, I can't even remember what these are called now. Are they called leis or is it L-E-I? Is that Hawaiian? And then I set up this little Indian display using some hessian. And at one time on Faversham Market, there was a lady that sold scarves. And do you remember the fashion for quite big ones that you wrap around your neck? It's almost like shawls or pashminas. And I bought all the ones that looked as if they were vaguely Indian in look. I think that must be a competition piece. I can see this lampshade, question mark. It's got leaves on it. And this was a still life competition I entered. But I think, all of a sudden, if you ever do a competition, and then suddenly you get really pulled up because nobody understood the definition of what a still life was supposed to be. And I think this probably was a demonstration of the fact that I didn't understand what still life was supposed to be. Other pictures. Oh, this is something. I go to a flower club, Vanguard Flower Club, and I think that's something we did there. I think this is a polystyrene dome. So you put the two pieces together, but we just used half and cut out the top circle and then covered it in banana leaf pinned on. And then this presumably was coming up to Easter time because it's got little eggs in here. So ranunculus. And I think this is the well, it looks like, is it the the Star of Bethlehem? You know the white flower with the black centre, but this is the orange version. Ornithologum or something, I can't remember now. not going to keep that, but I did rather like that. And I think I did that at a workshop with somebody. Again, it's a modern corsage. So I think it was a cardboard underneath, and these are rose petals that have been bound on. And then a sort of little stalks or bits of medallino or something clustered here with beads coming down. I think I may even possibly still have that in the cupboard somewhere. Look, some blank pages. Oh, I wonder whether I could save those blank pages for crafting, perhaps. Almost tempted to undo them so the pages. I'm going to leave that one like that so I remember that I'm going to do something with it. So here, what have we got? Oh, I taught for Hadlow College, and one of those teaching sessions was held at in Canterbury College for Hadlow College, and there was a competition as part of Canterbury in Bloom, and I'd entered that. And I got first prize. I do remember that some of my students entered, and this time I must have had my first qualification, but not my second. So I did feel a bit of a fraud teaching other people. And I was entering competitions, and then in jest, I think, lightheartedly, the only man I've ever had in class also entered, and he said, of course I wasn't going to win if my tutor was there. But this at the bottom is a construction out of wire, I think. I think I've made sort of homemade chicken wire and then threaded it with bear grass to complement the bear grass at the top. So it was one of these lily vases, the tall ones, and I've just put the hand-tied bouquet in the top and had this flowing down. So those were the days. And that's another thing from my friend at the British Bankers Association. Peonies set into these glass chippings. Oh, the lily vases. Oh yes, it's always good to get something, isn't it? And then as well as part of my floristry course, I didn't have to do work experience. So consequently, I always felt I was a bit, underexperienced, because all I was doing was the floristry work I was doing for myself and what I was teaching. But I'm certain this one here is when I went to do some work experience in my day off from my day job to go to a local florist, and I must have made that hand-tied bouquet. So it's quite nice using, select materials rather than the college-based things that are always carnations and things like that. So there's a couple of pictures of things I'd worked on. Oh, it's a wedding that took place at Westonhanger Castle. I think I must have worn that to the evening reception. I think it was a bit too modern for a wedding. I must have taken those with me, I think. Perhaps I did, because that was a friend. Perhaps for the friends, perhaps for the friends that are going to the wedding, I gave them modern corsages. And this is sister wearing one of my corsages, a very modern one again, with folded bits of bear grass and hypericum berries. So you could make this really designer stuff without having to spend a fortune. Halloween, so not cutting out I think I might have used a lino cutter, those little scraper tools to take off the top surface. This was for the local restaurant I used to do flowers for. And then I, playing around with corsages with odds and ends. Kent Area Show, this was my exhibit. I will say, other than my best in show and the first prize, from the first Kent area wide competitions, I've never ever done so well. And I've decided that competitions aren't really for me. This was a short course I did at Hadlow, and it was a bouquet inside a protea. You can just see the protea petals there. And I think where I've picked them out from this side, I've bumped them together with bullion wire and taken them around. There's a little bit of a detail there. It looks very wintry, doesn't it? Oh, and then I'm embarrassed almost of this. We went to a Society of Floristry exhibition, meet-up, conference, I suppose, lots of a trade fair really, and we entered the competition, and I did something about decorating a cake. So this is a polystyrene base, and I've done little wiggly things around there, which is a bit uninspiring. But I did have to travel 200 miles with it. And this is Richard Haslam. So he was a florist at the time, and he did a lot of wire work like this. And I can't remember now whether I was just doing it from a book. It's something I did at college, or whether he gave a workshop, and that's what I made at his workshop. It's all blurring into the background. And then dories, because I did like making Christmas door wreaths. Same picture we've seen before there. And this is where the lady who owns Beauty Spot, she used to get me to do her mantelpiece each year, and then she went on to learn how to do it herself. So I think we're on the last book. What's in here? Chelsea Flower Show. Chelsea Flower Show? 2003? Now the bells are ringing. I think sometimes, because we were Hadlow College and training there, we got invited to do things, and I think probably we did get invited to join Chelsea Flower Show as part of the college's stand, and we were doing demonstrations. I think that's probably what I was showing. Another competition piece, Summer Fragrance. So I think actually these is probably earlier arrangements, perhaps right at the start of my training. I should have written the date on the back. Look at that. A bouquet of Honesty before it's dried. Looks rather lovely. Look, another pomander. I do prefer, though, I think, the simplicity of the white one. But these things come around. So bouquets for Christine, that one's for Donna. This was the opening night of one of the local restaurants. I think I've seen Judith Blacklock do these, and also I think they appear quite often in the pages of the Flower Ranger magazine. So it's a piece of a block of flower foam that's been wrapped in cellophane to keep it watertight, and then you wrap around an aspidistra leaf that's been shone, and then do a little decorative belt. I think must be formium, and then you just decorate the top section. So quite an easy, inexpensive thing to do for flower arrangement. So there we are, actually in the Ardennes restaurant, which sadly is no longer. Mike and Anne. Gosh, I don't even know who Mike and Anne are. For Christine. Who was Christine? This was, gosh, that was an ambitious project there. Our flower club used to, the Horticultural Society has a show 3 times a year, I think, and they always had flower arranging competition classes. But the flower club at one time put on a huge flower show, like a church flower festival. And one year we obviously did something about ballet, and I've done this huge arrangement on those metal stands with some ballet shoes hanging down. Hand tied green just looks a bit. It just looks a bit bitty there. Is that the? There's no focal flower, is there? Like obviously the lilies haven't come out, but it just looks a bit itsy bitsy. You know, too much green on green on green. Decoration competition, Halloween. It's quite interesting seeing how my kitchen decorations changed. We used to have a dark green oven, brown tiles, and obviously there's some sort of green bin, bread bin, do you think? And then like I even got green Venetian blinds there. Green all the way. Wedding bouquets, Edwardian posy for Ellen. Oh, there's another competition piece here. The Wonderful World of Make-Believe. I think this might have been a Kent area competition. But what was I think? The Wonderful World of Make-Believe? What was going on there? I don't know. I can't remember what that was about. Traditional funeral piece. This is what I was talking, the bit of the video from Zoom Flower Club on Wednesday, was I was saying about when you come to place your flowers in your paper frog, it's just to sort of have a third of the area as flowers as the accent area and leave the rest exposed. That was one of the points I was making. Hand tie, Edna. See, I've got a clue who Edna is. Hand tied bouquet, Victorian posy. That would have been done at college. cake decorations for Alan. What was that about? A mimosa wreath. Just little sprigs of mimosa. I don't have much luck with mimosa. I probably think the season's probably over now. But I did treat myself to some and it just dried out really quickly. Oak and poppy wreath. I think I might have preserved these oak leaves in glycerin. And then got the poppy heads in there. So I think that brings us to a close. What do I have in here? Oh, Hadlow College at Brogdale. So I was obviously doing some sort of promotional thing. Well, I was probably demonstrating and getting people to sign up to classes. So, ladies, thank you for joining me. I am going to put these albums in the bin. I do not want them anymore. I'm going to possibly see whether that might go to the charity shop, or I could put it on our free cycle thing on the Facebook pages in town. And I might just slip these photographs back into my flower arranging cupboard to remind me of the highlights. I'm not keeping that one. The highlights of yesteryear in my floristry career. So, as Joan has said, happy Easter, one and all. And I'll see you next time. Bye.